Hello and greetings. This is Dr. ASLANI speaking. Our paper is about the prevalence of obesity and different aspects of lifestyle and medical science students, a cross-sectional study. As you may know, obesity is widely regarded as a major global pandemic. More than 1.9 billion adults were overweight, and of those, over 650 million were obese. Studies in Eastern Mediterranean countries indicate that obesity has increased at an alarming level among adults. In Iran, various prevalence of overweight and obesity has been reported among adults. Based on the meta-analysis, the prevalence of obesity in Iran has been increasing by the years, and it was 21.7% in adults by the year of 2015. According to the study, half of the population will be affected by obesity and overweight by the year of 2013. Based on the World Health Organization targets, the prevalence of obesity should be stopped by the year of 2025. Recent increase in the prevalence of obesity rates illustrates that it is associated with lifestyle, biological, psychosocial, and familial factors. Studies in medical students showed that only 26.5% of them had regular physical activity. According to the studies, students tend to eat high-fat and high-energy snacks and skip meals. Stress may affect human eating habits and reduce the consumption of food or lead to overeating. Perceived stress is very high among medical students, since transition from adolescence to adulthood is a critical period of adopting health-related behaviors or to prevent illnesses. Medical students play an important role in promotion of community health. We designed a study to investigate the prevalence of obesity and overweight and perceived stress among medical science students. This cross-sectional study was carried out in Tabriz Islamic Azad University from March to October 2019. Our inclusion criteria was lack of history of medical problems and disability, not being on diet during the last months, no experience of stressful events during the past 6 months. Our exclusion criteria was unwillingness to participate in the study and completing the questionnaire. Considering the 11% of prevalence of obesity with a power of 80%, accepted error of 0.027, samples were estimated to be 340, with the 10% drop in the final sample size, so considering to be 380 students. The sampling was two stratified random sampling. A proportion was chosen from each field of study in terms of sample size. Participants were called and reassured for confidentiality of information if the sample did not meet the inclusion criteria, either unavailable or unwilling to participate in the study. The next randomized one was replaced. The height and the weight was measured, the BMI was calculated and divided into 4 groups: underweight, normal, and overweight and obese. We used demographic questionnaires, Dutch eating behavior questionnaire, or the EBQ, Beck physical activity questionnaire, and perceived stress scales. Data analysis was carried out by SPSS version 21. Results for the socio-demographic characteristic evaluation: mean age of participant was 22.74, within the range of 18 to 14 years age. Majority of the participants were female, and as you may see in the table, males were predominantly more obese and overweight than female. Majority of the participants were medical students. The major ethnicity was Turkish, and most of them were singles. The mean height was 70 centimeters. The mean weight was 69.23, and measured BMI was 23.65. 72% of the participants were in the normal age of BMI, 25% of them were overweight, and only 3% of them were obese. As you can see in the table, all the variables which were measured had a strong correlation with the obesity and overweight, including eating behavior, physical activity, and perceived stress. These are the 3 subscales of Dutch questionnaire. As you can see, the scores are pretty high. In the multilinear regression, there was a meaningful relationship between eating behavior, physical activity, and perceived stress with obesity and overweight. And there was also a meaningful relationship between sex, perceived stress, and physical activity and restrictive eating, and with overweighting and obesity. The aim of this study was to determine the prevalence of obesity and overweight and their possible causes in medical students. The majority of participants were in normal range of body mass index with a moderate score in physical activity and higher than average score in various domains of perceived eating and stress behaviors. The results showed 28.41% of the participants had a BMI above 25, which 3.2% of them were BMI with above the 13. There were more obese males than females, and however, no statistical significance was found among the other variables, such as field of study, ethnicity, and martial status of BMI. Study at the different parts of the Iran reported an overall prevalence of overweight being 16.34 and obesity being 3.04%. Also, in other studies have been reported that the prevalence of obesity and overweight was 3.5 and 16.6 respectively. The Rahim Bashir and Mutahari studies in the other cities of Iran, prevalence of obesity and overweight among 307 nursing student female was 20.8% and 3.4% respectively. However, studies in India show lower incidence of obesity and overweight. The difference prevalence can be related to cultural, economical, and social factors that can influence lifestyle and diet and physical activities. It seems that high prevalence of obesity in males than females could be attributed to the cultural and social factors. For example, external eating is high among males. Physical activity and BMI, there's an undeniable relationship that the proper exercise and physical activity has a preventive effect on illness and other beneficial on health. The present study, the mean total score of the physical activity was 7.7, was moderate, and the lowest is the average score. It was related to the areas of sport activity, which indicated a lower participation in sport activity and a lack of physical activities and leisure time among medical students. It can be justified according to the behavior change theory. Knowledge and awareness are not the only variable influencing the health behavior. The association between the total physical activity score and body mass index was statistically significant, which is similar to the other studies, but there was no statistically significant difference in the other studies were conducted in Iran. It may be due to the difference in the students' lifestyle, lack of access to sport facilities, and poor physical activity of women under this study. The difference between the different results may be due to the type of the questionnaire we used. In this study, we used the short form of the questionnaire of activity. Eating behavior and BMI, significant positive correlation was observed between the subscale of BMI, subscales of Dutch eating behavior, and BMI. However, the restrictive eating score was inversely and significantly correlated with body mass index. In other words, people who with low body mass index show more diet restrictive behaviors. Yusuf showed a significant association between body mass index and eating behavior by studying medical students. Stress and associated BMI. Medical students report a higher level of stress due to their stressful daily lives and high schooling. Also, there was a significant association between perceived stress and body mass index. This finding is similar to the studies with Australia, United States, India, and Saudi Arabia. The study there was a significant association between perceived stress and eating disorders, and consequently inability to manage weight and body mass index. Our limitations of a study, as the design of the study is a cross-sectional study, it is considered that the interference of causality, while the extent to which the result could be generalized was limited. This study was based on a questionnaire and a self-report, so the bias of the results cannot be ignored. The present study was conducted as a single-centered study, only among medical students in a non-governmental university. The conclusions: the prevalence of overweight and obesity is relatively high amongst medical students. Most participants have high level of stress and sedentary lifestyle and appropriate eating behavior. Behavior interventions such as eating behavior and physical activity and modification of attention to the mental health should be implemented with the objective of modifying quality of life adolescence rather than improving the anthropometric indicators. This study emphasizes weight management initiatives should encompass the psychological factors and use strategies such as promotion of healthy eating management and physical activity promotions. Consequently, recommendations are made for practice and policy making in improving weight and prevent obesity and adolescence. First, there's a need to develop intervention to improve the dietary behavior, management of stress, and access to sport facility by health promoting activities. and the provision of online health resources. Second, educators and authorities should organize other enjoyable and fun sport programs in university campus, which can help to increase physical activities and reduce stress. Also, to increase level of awareness, it may be helpful to adopt educational program for improving eating behavior and physical activity and stress management among students. Thanks for your attention.